Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Brubaker.
And I'm Karina, Garcia. And we have the latest on the Blake Downs murder trial this evening.
19-year-old Cohen Berm was shot and killed in April of 2022. It happened at a house in Port Lavaca on Holloman Road. The trial started Monday with both sides resting last night. 25 News Now reporter Trenton Whiting is following the trial and has more. Trenton?
In day 4 of State versus Blake Downs, the prosecution pushed back against the defense's self-defense stance with an account by James Tolar, investigator for the Calhoun County Sheriff's Department, and a string of evidence that points to a, quote, cordial relationship between Downs and the victim, 19-year-old Cohen Berm. On Wednesday, the defense showed 2 angles of a fight Berm was involved in and images of an incident in 2018 where Berm physically and emotionally hurt a classmate. They argued he could have been the aggressor prior to the deadly shooting. The prosecution battled those claims with videos and pictures from both Berm and Downs that night, detailing a friendly relationship. That included a video of the 2 buying lottery tickets at a convenience store, where they displayed varying signs of intoxication, according to Tolar. Tolar also described 2 spent shell casings on the scene, implying 2 shots were fired. One casing found on the floor housed the killing bullet, and another was stuck inside the weapon after a malfunction, Tolar testified. The case will continue tomorrow at 9 a.m. into its 5th day. If found guilty, Downs could face 5 to 99 years to life in prison. Reporting for 25 News Now, Trenton Whiting.
Trent, thank you. Now, an emotional plea from the family of Susie Escobedo, who went missing from Seadrift on August 1st of 2018.
6 years later to the day, her case remains unsolved, leaving her loved ones desperate for answers.
Susie was last seen at a convenience store, Bayside Express, when she was just 25 years old at the time. After receiving little communication from the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office, Susie's family sought help from the League of United Latin American Citizens, who helped arrange a protest. During the protest, Sheriff Bobby Vickery assured the public the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office vows to search for answers. But after 6 years without any updates, the family has taken matters into their own hands. Jose Vallejo, Susie's uncle, conducted his own investigation, interviewing neighbors and witnesses who last saw Susie. He even confronted Christian Escobedo, Susie's partner at the time. Now, according to these findings, Christian last spoke to Susie on the day of her disappearance, calling her between 1 and 2 p.m. while he was at work. He did not return home until 7 p.m. It was not until 9:30 that evening that Christian called Susie's sister to inform her Susie was not at home when he arrived and that their 3-month-old daughter was found alone. Official reports indicate Susie went missing sometime in the afternoon, but her uncle believes it was in the early morning hours of August 2nd. He uncovered that several friends, including himself, messaged Susie between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. that day. And while no one received a response, the messages appeared as read, suggesting someone opened them. The uncle questions why Susie only responded to Christian's phone call and not anyone else's texts, something he says Susie would never do. We reached out to the sheriff's office, unable to obtain an update. The lack of progress has taken a heavy toll on the family. In 2021, Susie's brother, Arnaldo Rodriguez, passed away, struggling with depression after her disappearance.
Susie leaves behind 2 children. They are now living with their respective fathers.
Susie's family and LULAC urge anyone with information, no matter how small it may seem, to come forward. An Inez man was sentenced to life in prison for arsons Thursday. 32-year-old Cody Dawson was sentenced to 4 life sentences. He was found guilty by a Victoria County jury of 4 first-degree felony counts of arson. Dawson started multiple fires at the residences of family members on October 23, 2023 in Inez. Dawson resisted arrest and assaulted multiple deputies and 1 police canine officer. Dawson also was found to have cocaine. The fires Dawson set resulted in the complete destruction of 1 home and a travel trailer. The United States has agreed to a prisoner exchange that includes Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich and former Marine Paul Whelan.
This is the biggest prisoner swap between the United States and Russia in post-Soviet history.
We are free. Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich and former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan are safely in U.S. care this hour, released as part of the largest prisoner swap between the U.S. and Russia since the Cold War. In all, 7 countries and 24 detainees were involved in the complex exchange. At the White House, President Joe Biden was joined by several members of the hostages' families.
Multiple countries helped get this done. They joined the difficult, complex negotiations at my request. So for anyone who questions whether allies matter, they do. They matter.
For Whelan, his release ends more than 5 years in a Russian hard labor colony after being convicted for espionage. Gerskovich was recently sentenced to 16 years in Russia for the same, after being held for nearly a year. The State Department had designated all U.S.-related prisoners as wrongfully detained. More than a dozen Russian prisoners were part of the swap, among them a colonel with the Russian Secret Service who was jailed in Germany, the highest-ranking prisoner demanded by Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Vadim Krasikov. This is a guy who killed someone in a Berlin park in 2019. He's an operator. This is a murderer.
The reality of hostage, if we sat around and waited for equal deals, we'd bring nobody home. This is going to be a legacy piece for President Biden.
We stand for freedom, for liberty, for justice, not only for our own people, but for others as well. And that's why all Americans can take pride in what we've achieved today.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
After the freed prisoners are flown to Washington, D.C. to meet with President Biden, they'll be flown to Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio for medical evaluation.
Calhoun County residents who suffered losses from these storms in early May have until August 15th to apply for FEMA help. Homeowners and renters with uninsured losses can go online to disasterassistance.gov. They can also download the FEMA app or call the FEMA helpline at 800-621-3362 between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. The Small Business Administration is offering low-interest disaster loans. Applicants can go to sba.gov/disaster or by calling 800-659-2955. And with that, let's take a look at your forecast with First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Bettis.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Lots of sunshine, hardly a cloud in the sky other than the haze. You know, our heat index will be at about 110 for the next few days. So it's the heat and the humidity. And we'll also be taking a look at the tropics. All that coming up in just a moment.
Mac, thank you. Victoria police arrested a 37-year-old man Thursday. Robert Ramirez faces charges of injury to a child or elderly person with intent to cause bodily injury and assault on a family member with a previous conviction. Ramirez is in the Victoria County Jail in lieu of a $40,000 bond.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton got a final victory, forcing the Biden administration to continue border wall construction. After losing the case in federal court, the Biden administration declined to appeal, forfeiting any further claims. The Biden administration was directed by the court to continue border wall construction using funding approved by Congress. In 2019 and 2020, Congress dedicated roughly $1.4 billion to the construction of walls and barriers along the southern border. The Golden Crescent Regional Planning Commission is getting more funding from TxDOT. $30,000 from TxDOT is going to the commission for its bus service. The Golden Crescent Regional Planning Commission operates Victoria Transit and our transit services in Calhoun, DeWitt, Goliad, Jackson, Lavaca, Matagorda, and Victoria counties. TxDOT is sending $156 million to public transit agencies over the next year.
Crews in the U.S. are now battling almost 100 large active wildfires.
It says the U.S. is at preparedness level 5. That's the highest that exists. Some of the blazes are growing and even turning deadly.
Harrowing evacuations are underway for humans and animals as almost 100 large active wildfires rage across the country.
We are at planning level 5. That's our highest level of fire response.
Colorado officials report at least one death. It's linked to the Stone Canyon fire.
We do have a lot of law enforcement resources staged here and also on standby that if we do need to do additional evacuations, we can ramp up quickly and get people out of harm's way.
The state's also battling the quarry fire. It's spreading rapidly.
We have a rattlesnake problem to deal with, so we have a lot of things to be concerned about for our firefighters today.
And Colorado faces the Alexander Mountain fire.
We have evacuated about 4,000 people on a mandatory evacuation and another 800 involuntary evacuations.
In California, the Park Fire remains the biggest challenge. Its burn mark now spans almost 400,000 acres. That's bigger than the city of Los Angeles. Rescuers are saving people and pets from harm. These dogs are repaying the favor, offering therapy to those who have lost everything.
Ordering people out of their homes is always a tough thing to do. We recognize that the anxiety and the trauma that visits upon people.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
A report released by a University of Texas at Austin committee says university leaders violated their own institutional rules when contacting law enforcement in response to pro-Palestine protests back in April. The committee says the university didn't follow its own rules in response to the protest. Protests occurred on the UT campus on April 24th and April 29th. More than 100 demonstrators were arrested after clashing with law enforcement. No one who was arrested during the protest was formally charged.
Vice President Kamala Harris eulogized U.S. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee as what she called a force of nature. Harris described Jackson Lee as a mentor who, quote, always expected in all of us that we would rise to a point of excellence, knowing that life was too short and there's too much to be done, unquote. Jackson Lee died July 19th at age 74 after being treated for pancreatic cancer. Among the other speakers at the service Thursday in Houston were former President Bill Clinton and House Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Then you can see Crossroads Today. I bet you know where.
Is it YouTube?
Right
That's the
again.
spot?
Right again, yes. All right, stay with us. Home prices dropping in 2 Texas metros. Coming up on 25 News now at 6, the National Association of Realtors report and the numbers next.
Also had issues with FAFSA could stall financial aid for thousands of college students this fall.
Prices are dropping in 2 Texas metro areas. The National Association of Realtors reports the San Antonio, New Braunfels metro area had a 4.6% drop in home prices. A 0.3% home price drop is reported in the Austin Round Rock metro area. Now, this is a shift from Austin's real estate market boom from 2020 to 2022. Sellers are now slashing prices in hopes of speeding up sales. Only weeks before classes begin, another FAFSA setback could delay financial aid for college students this fall. The Education Department said colleges will not be able to submit corrections in bulk to update students' financial aid records. It's the latest setback in the launch of the new free application for federal student aid website. It's also known as FAFSA. Colleges have been waiting months to send batches of corrected records.
Electric lines for oil field equipment were blamed for at least 2 of the devastating February fires that burned more than 1.2 million acres. That's according to state records. No Texas agency is taking responsibility for making sure those that are privately built lines are safe. You can read this full Texas Tribune article on our website, crossroadstoday.com. Now here is your viewer poll this evening. The question is, do you think Texas should regulate power lines in oil and gas fields to prevent those wildfires? According to our results, it looks like 88% voted yes and the remaining 12% stand at no. Thank you for voting. We want to hear from you. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part, and we're going to have an update on 25 News Now at 10. And Warriors Weekend will honor American heroes wounded in action in a Purple Heart ceremony. It takes place at the Field of Honor on Wednesday, August 7th at 6:30 p.m. August 7th is National Purple Heart Day.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is also August, and then now the temperature is really cranking up. 92 right about now. It feels like 107. Our official high today was 94, still below our average temperature, believe it or not. We're supposed to be about 96, but that's, an average. The thing is, we're going to stay there with the heat and the humidity while the tropics get very busy. Not even tropics, we're talking Florida is really going to be getting busy. So we'll talk about that and take a good look at the path of that storm coming up in just a moment. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Looking at really warm weather over Texas. As a matter of fact, tomorrow, the combination of the temperature and the humidity is going to give us a heat index of about 110. So for those of you working outdoors, just take it easy. You know the drill. Make sure you get plenty of fluids and take breaks as often as necessary. But in terms of clouds, not many. In terms of showers, not many for about 7 days, so we're sort of stuck here in low gear. Meanwhile, in the Pacific, we've got Storm Carlotta going that way, not a problem. Out here in Florida, things are getting more complicated because the chance or the development opportunity has gotten even higher, up to 70%. The storm itself is already an area of low pressure right on top of the Dominican Republic right now. It is going to be going over the island of Cuba, and so that's going to sort of slow it down a little bit. But then when it gets over the Gulf waters, it's going to have a lot of warm water to start cranking up. So the path takes it a little bit different. Let's talk about that in a second. Here again is another view of the stormy weather associated with the low, and that is, of course, is going to be rolling toward Florida. Now, originally I told you that we were going to go on the east coast of Florida. Updated forecast. It's going to be the west coast of Florida, and it probably will be striking somewhere between Panama City and Tallahassee by early next week. The big dome of doom over us makes a big difference on what's going to happen over there. The dome is going to be sort of wobbling around a little bit because we're talking 7 days. The dome right now is on top of us and much of the southwest. But as we get to Sunday, Monday, it's going to leave a little bit of a space for allowing that storm to move north. As a result, it is sort of sneaking up in front of this. If the dome were bigger over Florida, it would prevent it from coming through. But since the dome is backing up over us, that's why the path of that thing is going to go right over the Florida Panhandle. This is another future track model, and you can see how the storm will be developing right about here, coming up the west coast of Florida, and there's the center of it as projected to be out there. And the weird part, and I do mean weird, is that it may be stalled there for about 2 days. Okay, that's not good because it is not hitting, Miami. It's going to be hitting Panama City, Tallahassee. This area is going to get a lot of rain, probably in the 15-inch range for those early parts of next week. So this is all the way to Tuesday, and that's where the center should be coming ashore. Any chances coming this way? Like I said, the dome is in control? Probably not. And the rainfall will be well, biblical. I mean, in that area they're looking for, and it's flat country, I mean, it's really going to be coming down. So they really need to start getting ready for all of that. Meanwhile, the heat wave is all over the East Coast, all over the Southeast Coast, and over much of Texas as well, including the rest of the western states. So it's just hot because now it's August, okay? And in August, we really look out for that stuff. 93 tomorrow's high in Port Lavaca. In the Cuero area, about 94. No real rain chance through 7 days, just lots of 95s all the way through. That is your 7-day forecast. Reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that, put Crossroads Today on your phone. And here's Karina.
Thank you, Mac. And now here's Max with your sports.
Thanks, Karina. The Victoria Generals are in a win or go home game tonight against the Brazos Valley Bombers. That's coming up in sports. This week's Athlete of the Week comes from Cuero. Tavian Darks most recently competed in the Texas Amateur Athletic Federation statewide track meet. His performance saw him place 3rd in the 200-meter dash and 4th in the 50-meter dash and 100-meter dash. Sports reporter Ray Robinson was able to catch up with the young athlete. What's his favorite part of the race and his coach?
I like to run the curb.
Why do you like running the curb so much?
They help me on the freeway. He's always teaching me one.
Well, when it comes to the track, I'm not his parent. I'm his coach, and I tell him when we get on the track, we focus on running. We're not out there to play.
And again, congrats to Tavian Dirks being our Athlete of the Week from the Cuero Track Select Club. Now, yesterday we highlighted both 2A and 3A baseball for some of the all-state selections made by the Texas Sports Writers Association. Well, now 4A has now released their names out there for the area. So area was for El Campo and pitcher Lane Schultz, catcher Dean Pozinski, outfielder Drake Renensense, and DH Mason Bostrek. Congrats to all these men from El Campo for making a run and doing well and placing for the All-Star team. Now over to the Generals. They're in a must-win take game 3 tonight against the Brazos Valley Bombers. And last night, like I said, as I ride Riverside, the Generals, they got an unearned inside the park home run by Trey Broussard, and it helped the Generals earn 3 runs in the bottom of the third, and then they actually got 7 runs in total in that inning alone last night. The onslaught runs helped the Generals win in a big way, and now, like I mentioned, this is a winner-take-all game. We'll give you highlights and information to see if they can win and play on Saturday night against the Cane Cutters, possibly if they win to host at home. Now over to the gridiron, the Houston Texans footballs is back tonight as well. The Hall of Fame game is in Canton, Ohio versus the Chicago Bears. The game will be telecasted right here on KVU TV. Head coach for the Texans, D'Amico Ryan, said to the media earlier this week he's looking to see most of the young guys just see how they can compete. And don't expect C.J. Stroud to play. Expect maybe to see in the quarterback range Davis Mills and Tim Boyle to play tonight. And the Bears, you will not see Caleb Williams playing tonight for the Bears, so maybe see a different quarterback as well on the Chicago side. Yesterday, the U.S. men's basketball team beats against South Sudan, a team everyone's really watching in France. Bam Adebayo got 18 points off the bench, and LeBron James had 12 as a starter yesterday. Kevin Durant had 14 as well to add on, and man, USA, they beat Serbia to start, and now they beat South Sudan, and they're already 2 games up, and they have 1 more game against Puerto Rico coming up here in the group stage. See if USA can keep getting that hardware for Team USA coming up. That's all here in sports. Donna, Karina, back to you.
Thank you, Max. We're back in a moment. Diamonds are a girl's best friend, and I can testify to that, but specifically for those girls on the planet of Mercury.
Finally tonight, planetary scientists just made a gem of a discovery. There may be a layer of diamonds up to 11 miles thick under the surface of Mercury.
No.
That planet was born roughly 4.5 billion years ago under incredibly high pressure and temperatures. The scientists recreated those conditions using a high-tech machine called an anvil press, used for research, but also to make synthetic diamonds. Researchers then found graphite turned into diamond crystals. Wow. Rocks on the first rock from the sun. Yeah. Hey, we have 5 locations where our hurricane tracking guide can be picked up. Go to crossroadstoday.com, click on weather, then hurricane tracker, and you'll see it on your right below Storm Threat 25, great tracking chart there. Fortunately, we do not need it right now.
Well, you could use it on potential tropical storm Debbie, which is coming into Florida over the weekend. You can start tracking that one, all right? But we don't need it for us. That's the good thing. We're going to be looking at just plenty of heat and humidity all week long. No real rain chance for the next 5 days. Even the sea breeze is kind of squeezed down. Temperatures hovering near 94, 95 all week long.
Thank you, Mac, and thanks for joining us.
We hope to see you back here tonight for 25 News Now at 10.